Right now, as you listen to me, there are around 100 billion neurons firing inside your skull. More connections in that 3 pounds of tissue than there are stars in our galaxy, all working together so seamlessly that you can hear my voice, understand these words, remember your childhood, and wonder about eternity, all at the very same moment. And I want to begin with a simple, honest question about that. Did all of that arrange itself by accident, or is it the fingerprint of someone? Because tonight, I do not want to just preach at you. I want to reason with you, the way the scriptures actually invite us to. God Himself says in the book of Isaiah, "Come now and let us reason together." He is not afraid of your questions. He is not threatened by an honest doubt. So whether you are a believer whose faith has felt shaky lately, or a skeptic who clicked on this half expecting to roll your eyes, I am glad you are here, and I ask only this. Give me your honest attention to the end, and let us look at the evidence together, plainly and without games. Now let me be honest with you from the outset, because I will not insult you with a cheap trick. I cannot put God in a test tube and hand Him to you under a microscope. That is not how the deepest things are proven. You cannot put love in a test tube either, or justice, or the beauty of a sunset, yet only a fool would say those things are not real. What I can show you is evidence, a mountain of it, pointing in one direction, until the most reasonable conclusion your mind can draw is that there is a God, and He is not hiding nearly as well as some people pretend. The Bible says it plainly in Romans 1. The invisible things of Him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, so that, it says, they are without excuse. Clearly seen. Let us go and see. And I am holding back the single most powerful piece of evidence for the very end. Not an argument at all, but something far more personal, the thing that has convinced more hardened skeptics than every logical proof combined. So stay with me all the way to the finish. The first witness is the universe itself, the simple, staggering fact that anything exists at all. Here is a question no one escapes. Why is there something rather than nothing? You are here. The stars are there. The universe exists. And for a very long time, the comfortable assumption was that it had simply always been here, eternal, needing no explanation. But the science of the last 100 years has demolished that. We now know the universe had a beginning, a moment when space, time, matter, and energy all burst into existence out of nothing. Even the scientists who wish it were otherwise admit the universe is not eternal. It began. And that lands us on the oldest and most stubborn principle known to the human mind. Out of nothing, nothing comes. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. A house has a builder. A painting has a painter. Nothing simply pops into being out of absolutely nothing, uncaused, all by itself. You have never once seen it happen, and neither has any scientist. So if the entire universe began to exist, then the universe had a cause. And that cause must be outside of it, greater than it, powerful enough to bring all of space and time and matter into being. Hebrews chapter 3 says it with beautiful simplicity. Every house is builded by some man, but He that built all things is God. You can call the cause whatever you like, but a beginning demands a beginner, and a creation demands a creator, and that is exactly what the very first verse of the Bible declares. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The second witness is the design, the almost unbelievable fine-tuning of everything. It is one thing for a universe to exist. It is another thing entirely for it to be so precisely, delicately calibrated for life that it takes your breath away. Scientists have found that the universe hangs on a razor's edge, that dozens of the fundamental constants of physics are tuned so exactly that if even one of them were off by the tiniest fraction, there would be no stars, no planets, no chemistry, no life, nothing at all. The force of gravity, the strength that binds the atom, the rate the universe expanded in its first instant, change any of them by a hair, and the whole thing collapses or flies apart into lifeless dust. Consider just our own home. The Earth sits at precisely the right distance from the Sun. A little closer and we burn, a little farther and we freeze. It spins at just the right speed, tilts at just the right angle, is shielded by just the right atmosphere, orbited by a moon of just the right size to hold it steady. The odds of all of it lining up by blind chance are so staggeringly small that honest people, believers and skeptics alike, are left genuinely stunned by it. Now, when you walk along a beach and you find a watch lying in the sand, gears meshed, hands turning, keeping perfect time, you do not for 1 second imagine the waves and the wind assembled it by accident. The design tells you there was a designer. And the universe is a watch beyond all watches, wheels within wheels of breathtaking precision. King David saw it 3,000 years ago without any telescope and wrote, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." The design is a signature, and a signature means someone signed it. The third witness is the strangest of all, and it does not live out in the stars. It lives inside your own chest. It is the moral law written on the human heart. Let me show you something you already know but may never have examined. Every human being, in every culture, in every age, carries an unshakable sense that some things are truly right and some things are truly wrong. Not merely unpleasant, but actually genuinely wrong. Cruelty to a child is not just distasteful, it is wrong. Betraying a friend is not just inconvenient, it is wrong. And here is the thing that ought to stop you cold. Even people who claim not to believe in any objective right and wrong will cry out that they have been wronged the moment someone lies to them, or steals from them, or treats them unjustly. They appeal instantly and instinctively to a standard above themselves that they expect everyone else to know too. But where did that standard come from? If we are nothing but molecules in motion, the accidental product of a blind and uncaring process, then there is no such thing as real evil, only things we happen to dislike, and no atom is obligated to another atom. Yet we all know deep in our bones that some things are truly evil, no matter what anyone says. And a real moral law requires a real moral lawgiver. A law implies a lawgiver above us all. Paul saw this 2,000 years ago and named it exactly in Romans 2. The Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness. Written in their hearts. That relentless voice inside you that says you should be good and accuses you when you are not. That conscience is not an accident of evolution. It is the echo of the lawgiver, stamped into the soul of every person he made. The fourth witness is the deep and universal hunger of the human heart, the longing that nothing in this world ever fully satisfies. Think about your own life honestly for a moment. Have you not noticed that no matter what you achieve, no matter what you acquire, there remains a restlessness, a sense that there must be more? People chase money and get it and find the ache is still there. They chase success, romance, pleasure, applause. They finally grasp the thing they were sure would fill them, and they find, to their bewilderment, that the hole is still there. Now consider this, because it is a curious and pointed thing. In nature, our hungers correspond to real things that exist. We hunger, and there is such a thing as food. We thirst, and there is such a thing as water. We grow weary, and there is such a thing as sleep. Every natural desire has a real object that satisfies it. So why would the human heart carry this one deep, universal, aching hunger? A hunger for something eternal, something transcendent, something that no earthly thing has ever once been able to fill, unless there were something real, beyond this world, that it was made to be filled by. The Bible answers it in a single stroke in Ecclesiastes 3. He hath set eternity in their heart. That is why the whole world cannot fill you. You were built with a God-shaped space, and every other thing you try to cram into it leaves you empty because it was never the right shape. That restless ache in you is not a defect. It is a homing signal. It is your own heart telling you that you were made for God, and you will not rest until you rest in Him. The fifth witness is the sheer, coded intelligence of life itself. When David and the ancients looked at the heavens and saw design, they had no idea how deep the design really went, because they could not see the microscopic world we can see now. And what we have found there is almost beyond belief. Inside every single one of the trillions of cells in your body, there is a molecule called DNA. And DNA is not merely matter, it is information. It is a code. It is a language with an alphabet and a grammar, a set of written instructions billions of letters long, spelling out in precise sequence how to build and run a human being. And here is the thing every one of us knows from ordinary experience. Information always comes from a mind. A book implies an author. A blueprint implies an architect. A line of code implies a programmer. You have never once in your life seen a language, a code, a set of meaningful written instructions arise from nothing but chance and chemistry with no mind behind it. And yet inside you, in every cell, there is more finely written information than in all the libraries of the world. If a single sentence scratched in the sand makes you look around for who wrote it, what should the encyclopedia written inside every cell of your body make you conclude? The code screams of a coder. The language declares an author, and his name is God. So there are 5 witnesses, and they all testify in the same direction. The universe had a beginning, and a beginning demands a beginner. The universe is finely designed, and design demands a designer. There is a moral law in every heart, and a law demands a lawgiver. There is an eternal hunger in every soul, and a hunger implies something real to fill it. And there is written information in every cell, and information demands a mind. Any one of these alone gives an honest person much to think about, but stacked together, testifying with one voice, they build a case that the most reasonable thing a thinking person can do is to conclude, there is a God. Now let me be fair and honest with you, the way I promised I would be, because I will not pretend these arguments force belief like a mathematical equation. And anyone who tells you they do is overselling. A person can look at every one of these witnesses and still choose to explain them away, and some very intelligent people do. The Bible is actually not surprised by this at all. It says the evidence is clear, but that the human heart can suppress the truth, can hold it down, because to admit there is a God is to admit we are accountable to Him, and that is a frightening and humbling thing. So I am not claiming these 5 witnesses can drag anyone kicking and screaming into the kingdom. What I am saying is that faith in God is not the blind leap into the dark that the skeptics paint it as. It is a reasonable step into the light in the direction all the evidence is already pointing. But now I have to give you the thing I have been holding back, the most powerful evidence of all, and it is not another argument. Because everything I have shown you so far can tell you that a God exists, a beginner, a designer, a lawgiver, a mind behind it all. But all of that could still leave Him distant, cold, far off. A force, a first cause, an intelligence somewhere out beyond the stars who set it all spinning and walked away. And if that were all, it would be interesting, but it would not change your life. So here is the deepest evidence, the thing that has convinced more hardened doubters than every proof combined. The most powerful evidence that God is real is that He did not stay distant. He stepped into His own creation as a man, and we have His name and His footprints in history and His empty tomb. His name is Jesus. Think about what that means. The God we reasoned our way toward from the stars and the conscience and the code, that God did not remain a theory. He was born at a datable moment in a real town under a real governor whose name is carved in history. He walked dusty roads. He was seen and touched and heard by hundreds. He said things no mere man has ever dared to say, and lived a life no mere man has ever lived. And then He was executed publicly, and 3 days later that tomb was empty. And His followers, who had scattered in terror, suddenly went out and turned the entire world upside down, and most of them died, refusing to deny what they had seen. And men do not die for what they know to be a lie. John opens his gospel with the staggering claim, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And then, "The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us." The designer entered the design. The author walked onto the page of His own story. That is the God of the Bible. Not a distant clockmaker, but a Father who came near. And do you see what this changes? It means the whole question flips around. This entire time, you may have thought the search was you, down here, trying to find God far away. But the message of Jesus is that God has been the one searching for you. Every one of those witnesses, the stars overhead, the conscience within, the ache in your chest that nothing fills, every one of them was Him calling to you, leaving evidence of Himself everywhere you looked, because He wanted to be found by you. The heavens were declaring His glory to get your attention. The hunger was set in your heart to send you looking for Him. And then, so there could be no doubt, He came in person. He is not the God who hid. He is the God who came knocking. So here is where the evidence has been leading the whole time. It was never meant to end in your head as a fact you file away, that God probably exists. It was meant to end in your heart as a person you finally turn to. The demons themselves, the Bible says, believe that God exists, and it does them no good at all. Believing God is real is only the doorway. Walking through it, trusting Him, surrendering to Him, coming home to the Father who has been calling you through every star and every stirring of your conscience your whole life long, that is the point of all of it. So let me speak to you plainly as we close. If tonight the evidence has done its work and something in you knows, really knows, that this is all no accident, that there is a God and that He has been reaching for you, then do not stop at the knowing. Turn to Him. You do not need a perfect understanding. You need only an honest heart. Say to Him, "God, if you are real, and I believe you are, then here I am. I have felt you calling my whole life in the beauty and the ache and the quiet voice of my own conscience, and tonight I stop running. Reveal yourself to me." He promises in His Word that those who seek Him with the whole heart will find Him. He has never once broken that promise, and He will not start with you. Because the God who flung 100 billion stars into the sky and wrote His law on your heart and coded the language of life into every cell of your body, that same God knows your name and has counted the very hairs of your head and has been waiting with more patience and more love than you can imagine for you to simply turn around and see that He was there all along. Now, if this strengthened your faith tonight, or gave you real reasons for what your heart already suspected, or reached you in the middle of your doubt, do me one small kindness. Press that like button and subscribe to the channel so these words can find their way to some other soul out there who has been wondering and doubting and searching and needs to hear this just as badly as you did. God bless you, and may His peace keep your heart all the way home. I'll see you next time.